My friends have been amazing helping me through all of this. And I've been trying to thank everybody, I mean, friends, coworkers, clients, everybody, by baking stuff because I love to bake and I love to make people happy with my baking. But I cannot bake for everybody. If this works and, I get as many responses as I'm hoping getting, I can't bake for everyone. So, what I can give people is the greatest gift of all: education. So, when I was at UCLA, I ran UCLA Shakespeare's reading and performance troupe. And we were quite dapper, if I say so myself. But I love Shakespeare. He's all right. So one of the things I do for my kids to get them into Shakespeare, and the first time I ever hear them complain about Shakespeare, oh, I hate Shakespeare. No. Shakespeare's hilarious. Romeo and Juliet, hilarious. It's a comedy. Okay, so this is the thing. Romeo and Juliet are stupid. They're so stupid. They're they're kids though. It's their fault. This is why kids can't vote because they're stupid. Juliet is 12 or 13. They never really clearly establish it in the play. She's 12 or 13 when the play happens. 12 or 13 and she gets married. Romeo and Juliet is like 14, 16. They never really say it all. They assume he's under 18 because otherwise, it's even worse. They're dumb. Okay, so it starts out with Romeo being emo and being like, oh, he's in so much pain and his heart is so full of pain and his bangs hang in his face like this all day because he doesn't have Rosalind and he loves Rosalind even though she doesn't love him. And she really doesn't love him at all. But he's in love and he'll never be in love with anyone else because he's so in love and he's a teenager and he's full of angst, which is like angst but much more painful. And his friends show up and they're like, dude, okay, you know what? She's going to be at a party tonight. Let's crash the party. It's at the house of those people who want to kill you, but let's crash the party. You can see her. And he's like, I can look at her. Rosalind, who I love, and I will never love anyone else as much as I love Rosalind. Yeah, great, dude. Let's go to the party. So they crash this party hosted by the only people in this town who actually want blood to be drawn from his veins. So that was a good idea. Luckily, it's a masquerade, so they can hide their faces. And there's another girl in a mask at a masquerade. And she's apparently hot through her mask. And he falls in love with her. And he decides he's never going to love anyone else the way he loves that girl right there. That he totally... Oh, she's a Capulet. Well, shit. That sucks. Oh. But it's okay because he's in love with her. Rosalind is never mentioned again in the entire play, first of all. Because it's teenage bullshit. He doesn't give a fuck about any of these girls. He just wants to be in love. Anyway, so he goes out of the party, super in love with Juliet. How could he ever love anyone who's not Juliet? His bangs start to fall into the middle of his face again, and he blows them away dramatically, and he decides to stalk her. Meanwhile, her mother comes and suggests maybe her father has maybe betrothed her to Count Paris, who's a really nice guy. Just she's 12 or somewhere between 12 and 14, and she doesn't know what she wants yet. She doesn't really think about marrying yet. But her parents are like, you know who'd be great for you? That really, really rich guy over there. You're only rich. He's rich. Huge tracts of land. And so she decides she doesn't decide anything. Basically, some dude shows up in her backyard. She decides they're in love. He decides to stalk her, basically. He hops the fence into her yard. He stares at her. He watches her. He listens to her talking to herself about how much pain she's in because she's in love with him too because she's 12. She doesn't, what the fuck should she know? And while he's listening, he reveals himself and he climbs up and they kiss in the moonlight. And he swears that he'll love her till the end of time. And they decide to get married the next morning because why the fuck not? They've known each other for an hour. They're stupid. Kids are dumb. This is why we don't let them have rights or opinions. Right? That's how kids work. They don't have opinions. So he goes to his friend, the priest, Friar Lawrence, and he goes, I have this great idea. I'm going to get married to Juliet Capulet. It's perfect. And the friar, like, to his credit, he's like, no, that's stupid. You're stupid. Stop being stupid at everybody. And he's like, but love. And Friar Lawrence is like, oh, I can't say no to you. So Romeo tells Juliet's nurse to tell her to come to the church the next day. They'll get married. And then nothing. They get married. They have sex, which again, ew, they're like 4 years old and they're stupid and ew. They have sex. They're committed. They're in love, whatever. He has to go home to his mother. I mean, really, that's what this whole thing is. They're both kids. They live in their parents' house. It's not like they get married and move out together. They're married, don't tell anyone, and continue their lives exactly as before. Meanwhile, Juliet's, for all intents and purposes, engaged to County Paris. She's engaged to the cousin of the Prince of Verona. This doesn't bother anyone. Her father, meanwhile, comes in and he says, you are so going to marry this Count. And she's like, oh, but I don't really want. He's like, you're marrying the freaking Count. She's like, I would, except, never mind. We'll talk about it later. Her dad has a little bit of an anger issue. She needs a little extra love. Kind of understandable. Still, she's a moron. This is quickly becoming more and more her fault. Even though at first she was just a dumb kid, now she's making actual decisions that harm people. She doesn't know they harm people yet, though. Meanwhile, Romeo is hanging out with his friends in town square. Juliet's cousin Tybalt comes up and starts talking shit and starts trying to pick a fight. And his best friend Mercutio, always down to fight. They start just talking shit to each other. It's actually kind of hilarious. Mercutio is by far the best character in the play. He's the, not just the comedic foil, but he's the sidekick. He's that guy that you end up watching more than the main characters because the main characters are so dull. It's like any given supporting character on Grey's Anatomy, frankly. Oh, there, I said it. Yeah. Anyway. So they start fighting, and Romeo's trying to keep the peace because this is his new cousin that doesn't know he's his cousin, and he can't really explain it to Tybalt, but he's really trying to keep the peace. So he gets between the sword fighters, and because he's blocking Mercutio, Tybalt is able to slide his sword into Mercutio and kill him. Romeo loses his shit, understandably, but kills Tybalt. Well, shit. This is a problem. He bails. He's gonna get banished. He skips town. The nurse finds out that Tybalt is killed and starts telling Juliet, well, thank God you still have that nice young man Paris to marry. In a Catholic country with no divorce. Awesome. So she's lost her only support for this whole thing. The nurse who knows she's married is pushing her to get married again. Polyandry, not really approved of in ancient or classical Verona. Juliet flips out. She runs to the only other person that knows that they're married, Friar Lawrence. She goes, I can't marry Paris. My husband is banished. I don't know where anyone is. I am spiritually screwed at this point. WTF. And he's like, all right, I have a completely reasonable and practical solution. Take this drug. Because sure, you're 12, you've already had sex, why not add drugs and rock and roll into the mix? He gives her this drug and he says, this isn't going to kill you, it's just going to look like it killed you. And this is going to be a great idea because you'll fall asleep, your parents will bury you and your family above ground tomb, so you won't actually be buried, just in the tomb. And then I'll send a letter to Romeo because our information services are so rock solid, pre-1995, that it will totally get to him and he'll come and rescue you and he'll take you from the tomb and you can run off together. And she's like, this is a great idea. Why she doesn't just run away at this point is one of the great mysteries of literature, because seriously, your husband is out of town. You're getting pushed into a marriage by your abusive father. Just fucking get the hell out. Just go. Something, nut up. Jesus. Anyway, so she takes the drug, falls asleep. Family comes in. No, why? Rends clothes, tears hair, carries her to the tomb. Friar Lawrence sends a messenger, and wouldn't you know it, those wacky bandits in Renaissance Italy kill the messenger. Romeo never gets a message. All he hears is secondhand that his wife is dead. He just hears that Juliet has taken poison and killed herself. He goes and buys poison and goes to see her body one last time before he kills himself. He gets to the tomb and Paris is defending her tomb. They fight. Paris dies, thinking he's doing the noble thing. Like, Paris is the only real tragedy besides Mercutio in this entire play. Everyone else, everything that happens to them, they totally deserve it. Paris does not deserve anything that happens to him. As far as he knows, he got into a marriage with a quite nice girl. She killed herself, which he must feel horrible about, rather than marrying him. And now this dude is trying to break into her tomb, possibly to vandalize it. He doesn't know. He just ends up dead. Romeo gets into the tomb, sees her dead body lying there still, gives her a kiss, drinks poison so he doesn't ruin his corpse for the afterlife, because he's got to die pretty, and dies right as she wakes up. Oh no, her husband's dead. This guy that she went through this entire freaking stupid plan for. Well, shit. There goes that plan. She takes his dagger, kisses him, plunges the dagger into her heart because she's a man about it and doesn't go and try to find more poison or anything, and dies. The friar shows up to tell everyone it's just a big misunderstanding. Ah. Everyone's dead. Sad face. The family show up. The prince shows up. The prince wags his finger because his cousin's dead. Their cousins are dead. Everybody's lost someone in this whole kerfuffle. And he fucking told them to stop fighting. And did they stop fighting? No. Now what you get? Your kids are dead. That's what you get. Scene. The end. Romeo and Juliet. Fucking hilarious.